and we acknowledge that we are on the traditional land of the Lenape people. We recognize their rich culture, contributions, history, and resilience. Let us listen to their voices, learn from their wisdom, and let's work together toward a more just and equitable future for everyone. Welcome to the second annual Celebration of Temple Health Women. My name's Allison Sacamandi, and I'll be your guide for today. But I certainly will be introducing a lot of great speakers throughout the day. And I think if you're either in this session or other sessions throughout the day, you're going to enjoy hearing not just from our keynotes, but also from our colleagues across the health system. We have a robust session. This morning's an early session, 7:30. Dr. Ahmed Suleiman. When he invites me to Grand Rounds, he always gives me a 7 o'clock slot. I always complain, and he tells me, Allison, it's a place of honor. So welcome, everyone. You're here in a place of honor this morning. A year ago or so, I was driving through Northeast Philadelphia, and I was going like all through these winding streets. I'm not too familiar with all the neighborhoods up in the Northeast, but I was going through the neighborhoods, with my GPS on. I had WIP blaring. It was Red October, and I had to go through the neighborhoods because some tanker blew up 95. So if you live in Philadelphia, it's like an ongoing thing. And I heard my phone ring, my work phone on my seat. I looked down, and you see the banner going across, Dr. Goldberg, Dr. Goldberg, Dr. Goldberg. I'm like panicking, right? I'm like hitting my radio off, turning my GPS down, trying not to drive in the 7-Eleven window, which also happens here. And so I pick it up, and I hear these 5 words, Allison, I have an idea. And those are like the 5 most frightening words people can say to me when they call me, because I know I'm going to love the idea, and then we're going to work in some collaborative way and be able to really do something important for our health system. And so that's what happened that morning. For the next 30 minutes or so, Dr. Goldberg and I really talked about, what we wanted to do in celebration of Temple Health Women. And it came about because people wanted to honor her achievement of 1 year as the first female dean of the Lewis Katz School of Medicine, but she never wants it to be about her. And that's the thing about Dr. Goldberg. She wants to make sure that she shares in the celebration of everybody, all women who walk through the doors of our organization each morning to really make our organization come to life. And so later that afternoon, a more reasonable hour, she always calls me at 7 o'clock, just so you know, between 7 and 7:30. I know that's her time. She called me more in the afternoon. She said, Allison, oh my gosh, it was a great event. She's like, we're going to be doing this for the next 10 years. I was like, oh my God, 10 years. However, here we are in year 2, right? So I'm saying to myself this morning, and I said to my colleague, Nicole, I said, hey, only 8 more to go, right? So we already have a theme for next year if we're going to do it. So that's what brings us here today. So ladies, gentlemen, everyone, to welcome us this morning, the first female dean of the Lewis Katz School of Medicine, Dr. Amy Goldberg.
I didn't realize I was so easy to read. I thought I was a mystery. Apparently not. Thank you, Allison, and good morning, everyone. I have to say, it really is exciting and very special for me to be here this morning. I want to welcome all of you and really hope that you are as excited as I am. I want to thank Allison and our planning team for making today happen. And just as Allison said, sometimes you have a thought or an idea, and what comes out of that idea is even better than you could have imagined. And I am so truly grateful to our team. I wonder if we should say 15 more of these, Allison.
I might be on a beat.
Thank you in advance to our keynote speaker this morning, Nicole, and our storytellers, Indira, Naya, and Gina. Thank you so much. And to the rest of the speakers across today. I hope that many of you were able to join us for our inaugural celebration right around this time last year. That day's theme was the value of inspiration. A year ago, this past summer, I was coming up on my 1-year anniversary as Katz's first woman dean. And that milestone was so resonant for me, thinking about what it meant and where we are as a school and as a community. I knew I wanted to create an opportunity to share my admiration for all the women who came before me, who paved the way, who inspire me, who inspire us every day. The ones who push us and keep us going while giving the rest of our community the chance to do the same. Looking around the room, I see a lot of those faces in the room right now, and I am so happy that you've returned for our 2.0 celebration of Temple Health Women. I also see that inspiration every single morning driving up Broad Street at 6 a.m. The amazing women taking their children to school on their way to work, waiting at a bus stop or headed down to the subway, doing what it takes to support their families and their communities. And it struck me that what we need and must take time is to acknowledge that women do whatever it takes for Temple. And if you know me, which many of you now apparently do, you won't be surprised that we are here for year 2 and that we are making it bigger and bolder. We added a 3rd session to give more colleagues a chance to be here, share more stories, and bring an additional keynote speaker. And we will keep this going into the future because the heart of why we are all here is so important. Recognizing all the women across Temple Health in every department, at every level, in every location across our city and our region that has that Temple T above the door. The women in environmental services and food services, our women nurses, the women in our labs, women in administrative support, IT, HR, nurses, physicians, techs, lawyers, students, residents, fellows, all of us keeping it all going. We call this event a celebration, celebrating the work that you do and the commitment that you bring every day, commitment to our community and to good that we do that makes a better future. And in that spirit, I wanted to take a moment this morning to celebrate a Temple-made physician named Martha Turner. Dr. Turner was an undergraduate alum at Temple and returned to earn her MD degree here at Katz. She was a prominent psychiatrist in Bryn Mawr and was a pioneer in incorporating innovative modalities to treat addictions and PTSD. Dr. Turner passed away in 2020, and earlier this year we learned that she left a $2.2 million bequest to support the school. It's an incredible gift and a testament to Dr. Turner's generosity and her dedication to supporting Temple-made medicine. We didn't have the opportunity to thank and honor her when she made the decision to make that gift. But what better place to do that than here today, at this celebration of the differences that women in our community make and their impact that resonates long after they've left our halls. On behalf of the Katz School of Medicine and on all Temple Health women, I share a heartfelt thank you to Dr. Turner and her investment in our mission. It truly is an investment in something that makes a difference, in something that matters. Our focus today is just as important, investing in and caring for ourselves. The word care, it is a powerful word. It is who we are. It is what we do. It is what drives us every day. And we are great at it. We are the best at it. And it goes far beyond caring for patients. We care for each other, for our Temple family, care for our community, and we care about the job that we are doing, that deep and abiding commitment to making a positive difference. But how often do we stop to turn that care inward? Because it is critical. You can't do your best. You can't do your best for the work if you don't care for yourself. And I hope that the time we have here reinforces that. I know I need it reinforced in me. because the challenges aren't going away. We're talking this morning about resilience, facing those challenges and coming out stronger. It's incredible that we have so many generations of women leaders in the room this morning, and the challenges we've each faced may be unique at different points in time. Younger generations are facing different challenges, but we are all here together, and the journey is the same. Finding a way to celebrate our successes and knowing that we must get back up when we've gotten knocked down, because we've all been there. We've all stumbled in one way or another. I've been at Temple for over 30 years, and I know the incredible resilience that is in our community, in our women leaders, and in our room. We're scrappy. We've been on the mat. And it's not about how many times you fail or fall. When you reach, when you try, when you put yourself out there, failure will happen. But you move forward, you continue to try. That is real greatness, and it comes from resilience. In a frame in my office, I have an excerpt from a speech by Teddy Roosevelt. It's one of my favorites, and a reminder of just that idea, that real failure is failing to try. It is known familiarly as the man in the arena. But today, the message is about the women in the arena. There it is. And I want to read it to you. It is not the critic who counts, not the one who points out how the strong woman stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the woman who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends herself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows, in the end, the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if she fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that her place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. That is resilience to me. At times failing greatly for a purpose and being better for it and learning from it. So thank you again for being here. I'm excited for what today will teach me, and I hope you all too. Thank you so much.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you, Dr. Goldberg. So during the pandemic, many of us hit the fitness button. Some of us even purchased one of those fancy Peloton bikes. Anybody out there? Yep, is it on Facebook Marketplace yet? Yeah, I wanted one, but I was also really cautious because I knew it might turn into a clothes hanger. So I purchased the well-priced Schwinn. Some of you might know that, being in other classes with me. I lugged that thing into my basement. It weighed like 200 pounds, right? I downloaded this app because it wasn't a Peloton. It wasn't like online. So I had to find this specific app, figure out what my virtual trainer might look like. I'm just like not like that. I'm like pretty pragmatic and realistic. So like connect with someone online is like so beyond me. But I did find somebody. It started with the word beginner, and then I was like, do I want, male or female? And so I found somebody I thought would really match me, right? So with that trainer, I pedaled through the Moab. I think we went through Patagonia together, maybe somewhere in Italy, not sure. But we had a great time. I loved it. It really changed my perspective, this trainer in particular, in a lot of ways, not just from a fitness perspective, but really from a wellness perspective, a leadership perspective. She was always talking about, when you're exercising and you really feel like you want to quit, or in life when you want to quit, like how can you dig down deeper and really find, that extra, bit of energy to keep going. What's your edge? Find your edge, she would always say. She would also talk about how we needed to really, let go of those things that were really pulling us down. What in your life wasn't working for you? How could you let it go? And so sometime later, long after I left my stationary bike behind, but didn't become a clothes hanger, I just want to say, I started reflecting on my own wellness and my own leadership journey. And just by some, I don't know, coincidence, I actually met my virtual trainer on Zoom first and now in person. And so I'm really pleased that we can have her here with us this morning. Nicole Moline creates transformative experiences that connect you to your heart. As a mentor, leadership coach, and spirited fitness and meditation teacher, she holds space for your becoming. Her cathartic altar workout and meditation practices build your strength and ignite your spirit. I can attest to that as well. She's the author of the Envision Planner and the Integrate Journal. She has many digital courses that are really potent frameworks for growth. And she's also the host of the Altar podcast. You can look that up, as well as Altar Journeys, Soulful Adventure Retreats. She is someone who holds a BA in biological science and English literature. How about that? An MA in theology and one in philosophy of religion and ethics. Hold on. She also has an MA in English and literature from Columbia and a PhD in literature from Rutgers. Please join me in welcoming wellness expert Nicole Moline.
Morning. It's such an honor to be here. Thank you so much, Allison. I want to invite you here. I want to invite you to arrive this morning. And I know it's a funny way to put it, but to begin by putting a hand on your heart, one palm on your heart, maybe closing your eyes, and another hand either on top of your hand over your heart or on your chest, maybe on your belly. And even in this very simple act, we're remembering the body. We're remembering that this is the focus of all that you do here at Temple, is attending to this, what I like to call a miracle machine, this amazing body, this instrument of resilience and healing. So start by taking a deep, slow breath into your palm and a slower exhale. And with that exhale, start to really drop into your seat, if you're standing, into your feet, and begin a process of arriving. And I say it that way because that's what it is. It's a process. Whatever undertaking, whatever event that we show up to, whatever first thing of our day at work, we're usually tangled into a bunch of different things in our minds. We're thinking about to-do lists. We're thinking about what we're anxious about. We're somewhat present. We're maybe about 10% present. And we're 90% present in all these other things. We're tangled up in all these other things. So what I want to invite us into this morning is to really fully, breath by breath, arrive here at this extraordinary, special day of celebrating the work that you do and returning to purpose. So maybe you keep your eyes closed and you just, breath by breath, arrive. Or if you want to open your eyes, I want to lead us beginning today with an invocation, with a poem. When I thought about the mantra that I wanted to give you this morning, I'm going to be giving you a number of mantras, and this was the first that came through very powerfully. Your presence is medicine. Possibly more potent than any potion, your presence is medicine. An invisible energy whose capacity we cannot fathom. Who can know the power or the reach of your focused attention? to whatever way you serve this community. Whether suturing a wound, sweeping a floor, serving food, your presence is medicine. You can transmit resilience. You can dwell in the possibility of healing. Your belief, a contagious, energetic frequency of hope. Your presence is medicine. Deep breath now into the purpose that first called you into this work. Hand on your heart to remember, to return to the moment you felt your gifts and your joy align with this community of healing. With an exhale, settle in to the calm, steady, hopeful quality of attention you want to offer to yourself this day, this profound work that you do. Your presence is medicine. Remembering again. Let's begin. So we're beginning this special day with a consideration of resilience. I was actually surprised in researching this word. I thought of resilience as stability, solidity, and even rigidity, as like a wall that a storm could crash into and it doesn't move. But in fact, when I started digging into this word, I learned that it's actually less about stability and more about flow. It's about flexibility. So we're gonna dive deep into what this word, what this concept of resilience means. But I wanna begin with this return to what we just began with. The possibility that your presence is the strongest medicine that you offer in this place. And that applies to every single context, every single type of work, whether it's maintenance, whether it's cleaning, whether it's lab work, whether it's suturing a wound, whether it's offering drugs, offering medicine. Your presence is the most important tool and instrument of healing that you have to offer. The most profound gift that we offer to anyone is our own inner state, the quality of our presence. So I want to begin this morning by just inviting you into this check-in. And maybe you come back to this hand on your heart, or you close your eyes and you take a deep breath in your palm with no rush at all. Just a total, open, unjudgmental, curious question to yourself. What is the quality of your presence today, these days, this moment, this season of your life? Maybe thinking of yourself, how you're showing up in relationships, how you're showing up in your work, how you're showing up in your wellness practices. What does it feel like to be in your presence? Just checking in on that. What energetic frequency are you broadcasting? In the same way that a radio signal is broadcasting this invisible energy, or a television signal is broadcasting these invisible sound waves that we can't see, but we all know, we all feel, we all experience. We're all emitting an energy. We're all emitting a type of presence. So what's the quality of yours? And what would you like it to feel like? What would you like it to feel like to be in your presence? There's usually a correlation between high quality presence and slowing it down, focusing on fewer things well, and remembering all of the shades of this word wellness, right? How well is our presence? How well are we attending? So what I'm going to be offering you today throughout the course of this talk are some mantras, which I like to think of as like walking sticks. You know, in the same way that when you're climbing up a mountain or on a trail, as I often am in Colorado, having that not only something to lean on, but even the repetition, the rhythm that's calling you forward. And one of the things that I love about mantra, which is something that we see across all spiritual traditions, whether it takes the form of prayer or chanting or inspirational Instagram memes, I love the reminder that as humans, mantra exists because we need this. We need repetition. The human state is one of practicing. And that's such a relief to me, that it's not about showing up perfectly, right? But no, what we practice, we become. So and I really want to encourage you as I share some mantras throughout the course of this talk around these different points, I really want to encourage you to create your own. So a mantra is just a really, really simple, like maybe it's one word. Maybe it's breathe. Maybe it's 2 words. Maybe it's be here. Or whatever your version of it is, if you can come up with just a 1 word, a 1 sentence phrase that when your life starts to swirl, you can come back to, it's incredibly powerful. So I'm going to be giving you a toolbox of mantras. And this first one, as we talk about presence, is an ancient indigenous saying, be where your feet are. Do you see how just dropping into your body, dropping into your feet, dropping into your chair, it calls all parts of you here. So when your life's swirling, when you're distracted, maybe this is a mantra that you practice to yourself. Be where your feet are. Be where my feet are. Be here. Let's talk a little bit more about resilience. Resilience is our natural state as humans. And maybe nothing testifies to that as dramatically, as powerfully as the human immune system. This system of the body that you're all in deep partnership with, that our bodies tell us that we are literally made, like our DNA is programmed to return us to equilibrium, to return us to wellness. And so a contagion comes in and your body instantaneously creates this response to it that brings you back, escorts you back to your state of equilibrium. That's the process of healing that your own body is telling you about all the time. Your body is telling you that you are made to be resilient. You're made to absorb and learn. The immune system is always learning, right? And then to return you to your natural state of equilibrium. I take a lot of solace from that. I'm made to be resilient. I'm made to take in so much and to return myself to who I truly am. The definition of resilience, as I was talking about a moment ago, was a little surprising to me. It's the capacity to recover. It's not so much the capacity to just stand solid and armored. No, it's the capacity to absorb, to let in the stressors, and to recover. It's less a resisting and more a returning. It's a practice, like a mantra, like a repetition. It's literally, in physics terms, the ability of a substance or object to bring back into shape. Resilience is a quality of elasticity. And this is really helpful for me when I think about how I absorb stress. That's what tells us how well our resilience is performing. It's really comforting to me to think that I am made to absorb this, to learn from this, to expand for this. Resilience is the power of the body and mind to quickly recover after a challenging situation. We know also everything that we're learning right now in psychology about relationships is that it's all about the repair. It's all about the recovery, that depth, that intimacy in our relationships is created through repair, not through withstanding challenge or stress. Resilience is a returning. The word was first used in reference to compare and measure the strength of materials used in the construction of ships. And you think about when a ship is going through a storm, I mean, the force of waves and water, the kind of like physical challenges that a ship endures, it has to actually be able to absorb those stresses. We need, in the same way that as a ship is moving through the ocean, and I love seeing, we've got some ship quotes that are going to come up during our quote slides in between sessions today. In the same way that as a ship is moving through the water and it's built for resilience, that ship is constantly, a great captain is constantly checking in on the ship's course. Because as much as we are made to be resilient, the human condition is also made to be distracted and to be pulled off course, pulled away from our purpose, pulled away from our direction. So similarly, we need to return to our purpose daily, maybe hourly, in the same way a ship's captain checks in at least hourly to ensure the ship is on course amidst the strong currents of the ocean. So as we began a second ago in the invocation that I just shared, what was that moment of purpose that called you to this work, that called you to this community? So powerful to remember that, to be someone who remembers, to be someone who's constantly returning to your purpose, to your course. One of my favorite quotes around this is by Louisa May Alcott, the wonderful American author. She says, "I'm not afraid of storms, for I'm learning how to sail my ship." I'm not afraid of storms. I'm learning how to sail this ship of resilience. So our mantra, in thinking about resilience as our natural state, I am learning and returning. I want to encourage you to think about a stressful situation in your life, in any spectrum of your life right now, any part of it, whether it's personally, relationally. I want you to think about something professionally. I want you to think about a way that you tend to show up that you'd like to change. You tend to react, you tend to absorb stress from this particular situation in a way that pulls you off of course. And what would it be like for you, especially when you're in that moment of falling off course? You're not leading in the way that you want to lead, you're not communicating in the way that you want to communicate. Just to take a moment of breath. I am learning and returning. I'm learning gives us the space to absorb the wisdom of learning the complexities of a situation, absorb the wisdom of learning how we have reacted and don't want to react in the future. I'm learning and returning. I am learning and returning. I am learning and returning. I am learning and returning. So we talked just a moment ago about how our body's own immune system is testifying to our capacity of resilience, that we are made to be resilience. And it's pretty incredible to think about the entire operation of Temple Health as a resilience community. So to heal is an act of resilience. To heal in any way is an act of resilience. When someone passes through the doors of Temple to engage in healing, they have to choose resilience. They have to choose resilience over resistance. And maybe you've either worked with patients or you've witnessed patients or you've witnessed coworkers who are resisting a situation. When someone is in a situation where they need to heal, they're ill, they're sick, there's a really normal resistance that we feel towards that, right? This was not the plan. And I can think of cancer as a kind of maybe perfect example of this. No one wants that news. But in any kind of healing, there's a shift that we have to make to choose to partner with our own treatment, to choose resilience over resistance. So it's so important to think about creating a community of resilience. Is the energetic frequency of Temple a frequency of resilience, so that when when anyone walks through the doors of this institution, of this hospital, of a medical school classroom, whatever it is, we're reminded of our capacity of resilience. We're inspired by the possibility of healing, the possibility of growth. It's possible to transmit belief, to transmit that energy. Energy is contagious. So this is true both of positive energy and negative energy. You can think about being in the presence of a leader who doesn't really want to be there, right? And it's just contagious. The whole group starts to just lose faith and interest. And you can also think about being in the presence of a leader who is fired up, who is on mission, who is excited and believing in what it is that they're doing. And it's contagious, it's electric, it spreads, it calls everyone into their highest capacity. So to think about the little micro communities that you're a part of in this whole work, however it is that you show up to work here, what's the energetic frequency of that little micro community or macro community maybe? And what can you do to be a beacon of resilience, to remind everyone that we are made to heal, we are made to grow, we are made to learn and return to our true state. So a mantra is very simple. We transmit resilience. At Temple, we transmit resilience. In the same way that a radio tower or a TV tower or anything sending a signal is transmitting that energy, we transmit resilience. And speaking of energy, let's talk about yours. Let's talk about your body's own energy. Your body is a battery. It's made to recharge. It blows my mind every time that I've had a great night's sleep, especially if it's after a week maybe of just overextending myself. The fact that we can wake up after 8 hours and just feel like a different person, that our bodies, again, are made to recharge. At the same time, our bodies are a battery in that we lose our energy, right? We have finite energy. Our bodies are finite. Our energy is finite, but it is also rechargeable. Interestingly, I learned this by having a panic moment at the Apple store, at the Genius Bar. I learned about my computers, some things about computer batteries. And one of the things that I learned is that to keep a battery healthy, you want to keep it out of extremes for too long. So if you keep a battery always charged, if you keep your laptop always plugged in, actually that battery is going to have a very short life, as I came to find out. It's because the batteries are actually made to lose their charge and recharge. But that being said, you also don't want a battery. A healthy battery is not going to lose its charge fully. So just like public service announcement for your laptops, you don't ever want to drop below maybe 20% on your laptop battery. But you also don't want to always stay at 100%. You want to let it go all the way down to 20 and then charge it back up. So guess what? Same applies to the body, right? You know what it's like. We have this term burnout where you are just done. You do not care anymore, like totally overwhelmed, and you lose all motivation because your battery went to zero. And it's really hard to charge a battery from 0 to that 20%. We want to live in that place of like 80% to 20% charge. And so just a simple practice every day of actually checking in with yourself, checking in with your energy today and asking, where am I at? And that scale of actually 100% I think is really helpful. Like you wake up in the morning, I got 50% today. I'm starting with 50%, Or you've got 80%. And today's a day to get into that to-do list. Today's a day to really transmit this energy of positivity. But especially when you wake up and that battery's, it's under 50%, it's a day for care. It's a day to recharge. So our mantra for this is, I honor my finite, rechargeable energy, and I dwell in possibility. So these two things can be true. We have finite energy, and it's rechargeable. And I dwell in possibility. It's a beautiful line from the poet Emily Dickinson. I dwell in possibility. So you can be living in this sense of possibility even while acknowledging that your energetic resources are finite. And I want to just say also that as healthcare workers and leaders, that I think of everyone here in this room as that, regardless of how it is that you're working here, the demand on our energy is infinite. There will never, the demand for healing, the demand for leadership is inexhaustible. That to be a healer and a leader is to feel a sense of an ongoing project that is always bigger than you, that is always exceeding your resources and your personal energy. And it's a simple thing to say, but it's a really important thing to say, that what a noble project to be a healer and to be a leader. And also to be a healer and to be a leader is to know that you're never going to be able, your own finite energy resources are not enough. The great news of that is that you get woven into community, right? You get to be a part of a team that is leading alongside of you. But you can honor your finite and rechargeable energy and also dwell in possibility. One way that we do that is to practice integration. What is this word, integration? Do you have an integration practice in your life? This can take the form of just about anything, but maybe it's a 3-minute meditation at the end of the day, 3 minutes of stretching at the end of the day, a little walk, 3 deep breaths to check in. Do you have any kind of a practice of integration that just scans your day, that acknowledges what you have absorbed, and decides what to do with it? Because otherwise, when we don't have a practice of integration, and the kind of luxurious, all-out version of this is maybe an hour-long movement practice or yoga class or a weekend retreat, right? Or some kind of like very intentional period of time that we're really taking stock, we're really taking inventory of what we're doing in our lives. That's something I love to do with people on retreats. But really important to be doing this in some way on a daily basis. And part of why that's so important, especially in healthcare work, is that you're absorbing a lot of trauma. You're around a lot of trauma, whether it's watching people's hearts get broken and worlds be overturned. I mean, facing a COVID epidemic, you're around a lot of trauma. And then there's the micro traumas that we're, quote unquote micro traumas, that we're all experiencing in whatever way, just by working in community with other people. And so what are you doing with those? Because they get stored here. There's this amazing book called The Body Keeps the Score that's done this really deep scientific examination of how our bodies store trauma and even what it does to our epigenetics, right? For generation after generation. So if we're not integrating, if we're not actually taking stock of what we've absorbed and deciding what to do with it, we're carrying all that around. And it creates what I like to think of as an energetic leak or energetic leaks. So those little heartbreaks that you're in proximity to or you're feeling during the course of your day, or the personal traumas that you're absorbing, all of that is affecting your energy. So what can you do with that? You need to have release and clearing as an ongoing practice. So it's asking yourself, what of this day do I want to keep and learn from? And what do I want to release? So this very simple mantra, I integrate. I integrate. So especially when you've come through like a tough, complex conversation with someone, or a tough meeting, or absorb some tough news, even in this mantra, I integrate, recognizing that that takes a little bit of a process, that takes some intention. We're going to move into some tools to actually help us to integrate and to help us to return, understanding resilience as return. So if you've ever watched, I love watching like wildlife documentaries, David Attenborough documentaries, and whenever you've seen an intense chase between animals, like a deer or an antelope maybe being chased by a lion, when the deer doesn't get caught, you'll always see, at the end of this chase, you'll always see that animal, that prey animal, shake. Do a full body shake, like nose to tail. You've seen dogs do it, of course. Dogs are doing it all the time. Dogs know what's up. So actually just simply shaking the body, like doing that took 2 seconds. And I feel freer. I feel clearer. So recognizing that we're storing trauma in our bodies, that's leaking our energy. And what are some things that we can do to come back to ourselves, to return, as we're understanding that resilience means our returning? So number one, you can shake. And number two, just as we began this session together with some deep breaths, just 3 deep breaths, which takes 10 seconds. When you've absorbed some really stressful, really intense thing, to just sit and to breathe. And again, simplest thing in the world, but every inhale is followed by an exhale. So our bodies teach us that we function best in this circuit of exchange, that we take in the world and it frazzles us in all the ways that it does. Are we releasing? Are we letting go in some way? And, coming back to that earlier mantra, I learn and return. We get to keep whatever it is that we want to, but let's be people who are choosing what we hold on to instead of just by default holding on to everything and letting that leak our energy. So you can shake. 3 deep breaths. Stretch the body. You'll see often animals also after a really stressful situation, like take a big yawn, because yawning actually activates your vagus nerve. It tells your body that everything's good, you can relax. So there's some ways that we can actually work with our own nervous system. Something like a yawn, activating our vagus nerve, telling our body in that way that things are okay, even if they're not yet. You can give yourself a hug, because your nervous system doesn't know the difference between your own hug and somebody else's hug. So just sitting here and holding yourself, and maybe you give yourself a little rock, little pat on the shoulder. This is this way of transitioning out of whatever it is that you're holding. My personal favorite is to dance to a song, one song a day. That's 3 minutes or 5 minutes where you are giving yourself a bath of joy, a bath of your truth. Maybe your chosen songs is going to be like heavy metal rage. Maybe that's been like the kind of day that it is, or like super intense rap. But to give yourself that moment of truthfully expressing yourself, especially in a space like this, and I've spent a lot of time in the academy. We live up here, right? We got to ride the elevator down a level into where we're carrying all this stuff and attend to the body. Another tool is tapping on the body's meridians. So, of course, there's these meridian points throughout the body that are centers of energy. We see this acknowledgement of this in yoga, but in Chinese medicine and lots of different medicine practices throughout the world. So maybe you want to just join me for a minute in tapping on the temples of your head, just on the other sides of your eye. And another point would be right above your lip here. Another point is right at the inner eye. Of course, your face is really sensitive, so there's a lot of points around the face. And then right at your heart, your solar plexus, chest, solar plexus. This is a really powerful one for me. Wakes me up. Into the heart. And then my personal favorite, when you're in a meeting and no one's going to know otherwise, is just right here. Yeah. And so even if it's just tapping, you're dropping into your body. It's this way of asking yourself, how am I processing? How am I feeling? What's going on? And joining it to mantra is especially powerful. I choose and I release. One of the things I love about tapping too is that it has its own rhythm, right? Just like a song, just like a shake. There's a reason all of this has rhythm to it. Our bodies, of course, are beating and breathing to their own rhythm. How mind-blowing is that? Your lungs have never stopped breathing you. Your heart has never stopped beating for you. And choosing some very simple, consistent rhythms can shake us out of the chaotic rhythms that we might be in, right? So that's why a lot of these practices are rhythmic. Of course, a self-care ritual like taking a drink of water or putting on some lotion, or if you can, laying down on the floor and putting your legs up the wall for 3 minutes. How luxurious, right? I can't do that. But all of these are ways of honoring this vessel that you live in, this body that you live in, that is your resilience machine, if you choose to honor it as that. So some mantras that you can bring in as you're using any of these tools. These would be really powerful mantras of integration. I release. So I release that conversation. I release the heartbreak of this news that I had to deliver today. I release the anxiety that I'm feeling about this or that. I release. Literally saying it to yourself. I release this person. I release this situation. I release this question that I'm working with in my life right now. I release. And I choose. So I release the toxicity of that conversation, and I choose steady, calm response. Or I choose to let the heartbreak that I absorbed today open and expand my heart, right? So you get to fill in the blanks here, but just so simple to say to yourself at the end of a day, at the end of a meeting, at the end of a tough shift, I release and I choose. What are you exhaling and what are you inhaling from your life? Becoming intentional about that. So speaking of more tools, I hope you all, as you are coming in, I think you got these little cards that I had made for you. And so I love leading people in practices that help us to come home to our hearts, but also get us into our amazing bodies and become aware of, all that's going on in our lives. And again, asking ourselves this question of what do I choose and what do I release? So there's a QR code on there, and there's just a bunch of free practices for you. One of them is a bike workout that I threw in for Allison. I call the Joy Ride. You could do it on any bike. But yeah, you don't need equipment for these necessarily, but if you want it, you can integrate it. So just a toolbox of practices for you to have to start training for resilience and training for capacity. So these are the reasons that I train. Yeah, we get to build muscle, we get to burn calories, but really, I want to show up to my life in my full power. I've learned that a strong body dreams bigger. So that's why I train. That's why I encourage you to train. How are you training in your life physically to increase your resilience and to increase your capacity? And by capacity, I want to especially mean emotional capacity. So in work like this, you all see the stuff of life, like the most complex, heartbreaking, yearning, longing, hope, all of it. Like you guys are in the thick of human life and human connections, right? That's what we see when we're encountering disease, illness, injury. And we want to have robust emotional capacity to hold all of this, to be able to confront what we're facing. So these are big enough whys to get us out of the bed and onto the mat or onto the bike or onto the sidewalk for a walk, or for a run or however it is that you love to move. Hopefully these are much bigger whys than, a smaller pant size or just burning some calories or whatever it is. Let's train for resilience and emotional capacity. So I love this mantra. How strong can I get? How strong can I get? At this age, at this moment of your life, at this season, how strong could you get? That made me feel intriguing, tantalizing. Whoa, how strong could I get? And touching on this concept of emotional capacity, how soft can I get? How open, how receptive? And as we're now learning, resilience has lots more to do with softness, with the ability to absorb and elasticity. How strong can you get, and how soft can you get? So that's another, I'm just putting up my website too for more practices. In closing, I want to ask you to return again to hands on your heart. And maybe you close your eyes. You breathe into your palms. What from the center of you is calling the periphery of you back home? Where have you maybe gotten pulled off center? And what from the center of you, that deep purpose, that calling that's brought you to this work, the passions of your life, what from the center of you is calling the periphery of you back home? Having resilient presence is not about never leaving home. It's about learning to return faster. Learning to return faster, to come back on course. This is resilience. So deep breath now into the purpose that first called you to this work. Hand on your heart to remember, to return to the moment you felt your gifts and your joy align with this community of healing. With an exhale, settle in to the calm, steady, hopeful quality of attention you want to offer yourself this day, this profound work. Your presence is medicine. Let's begin again.
Thank you, Nicole. Thank you for validating Instagram therapy. Where's my Nicole Lottie? Those of us who practice that. I love it. I love it. We all have to find our mantra. I was at the Pennsylvania Conference for Women, and I heard the speaker of Live, Love, Pray. I think that's the book. Yeah, her mantra was delete when it comes to our emails. You don't have to file, just delete. They'll get back to you. So people on my team know I practice that on a regular basis. So we're really excited for the next part of our program as we round out this morning. One of the most rewarding parts of putting this program together is that we reach out to leaders from across the system and we ask them to nominate speakers, or as we call them, storytellers, who will make the rich tapestry, really, of our health system come to life. Those who inspire us with their experiences and insight and really the wisdom of what they've been through in their lives or what they go through on a day-to-day basis here at Temple Health. This morning, our insight on resilience will be provided by three beautiful colleagues of mine: Indira Quadu, Associate Director, Temple University Hospital; Naya Williams, a medical student at the Lewis Katz School of Medicine; and Gina Mistry, resident anesthesiology. Please welcome to the stage, first, Indira Quadu.
Good morning. It's truly an honor to be here to share my story. The word resilience has been a common term used to describe the women in my family for more than 3 generations. My great-grandmother, who lived just a few blocks from here, had my grandmother at the age of 15. Though she completed just an elementary education, she cleaned homes for wealthy families and managed to travel the world before traveling the world was a thing. My grandmother, who was born in 1926, became the family's first ever post-high school graduate, becoming a registered nurse in 1949. She attended Mercy Douglas Hospital School of Nursing, which was an institution for Black women to be trained as nurses. She continued breaking molds and barriers when she joined the Navy, married into an interracial relationship when it was unheard of, had 3 children, and subsequently found herself as a single mother. She navigated life as gracefully as humanly possible, sometimes to the point of disbelief. Being a resident of North Philadelphia, she served the Philadelphia School District as a school nurse. She later in life found herself involved in many community activities, including those within the Temple University Hospital Auxiliary. She was my Florence Nightingale, and her resilience through life has motivated me in more ways than I can probably recognize. My mother, who is here to support me today, overcame her own challenges of being a teenage mother, and she continues to support me on my daily journey. Support me daily during my journey. Although my upbringing was drastically different than the women in my family, my life has not been absent of its challenges. My mother became gravely ill when I was 11 years old. Her illness, as well as my grandmother's inspiration, confirmed that I should follow the path of becoming a registered nurse. Upon graduating from high school, I attended Howard University in Washington, D.C., my dream school. It was a pivotal moment for me in my life, one where I met some of the most amazing people, but one that also presented its difficulties. After 2 years of academic struggles and illness, I left the university and came back home. As friends continued to thrive, I found myself lost and confused. Rejection letters flooded in the mail due to my academic struggles. Depression knocked on my door. I had wasted 2 years of college tuition to find myself starting over again. My new normal was taking classes at a local community college and working as a nurse's aide on the weekends. Eventually, I was accepted into Northeastern Hospital School of Nursing, a Temple affiliate. The acceptance letter was the fuel I knew I needed. 2.5 years later, I graduated with a diploma in nursing, and within 6 months, had a position at Temple University Hospital under the management of Carrie Morawski, who is here today to support me and has become like a work mother. It was within these walls that I learned patience, empathy, gratitude, and kindness. I also built a close network of work family. In 2018, I got engaged, married, and learned that I was pregnant with twins. Neither of the 3 milestone events were formally planned or expected, to say the least, but hey, we are talking resilience. At 28 weeks, during a routine prenatal exam, I found myself being admitted to Pennsylvania Hospital for preeclampsia, proteinuria, and possible intrauterine growth restriction. I'll be here for 3 days, max, I thought to myself. Well, 47 days later, after never leaving, never getting in a car, never having a baby shower, the list goes on, I gave birth to 2 baby boys who would forever change my life. Adjusting to motherhood is a true task in itself, one that you're never used to, never comfortable with, and never excused from. You actually have a human life that you are responsible for forever. And for me, that was ×2 at the same time. The days were long, including working from home with 2 one-year-olds during COVID, which, by the way, working from home will never have a pleasant meaning to me. Some days filled with tears, sadness, defeat. But fast forward to this day, more than 5 years later, I'm here to tell you the story. I've learned that children, at least mine, have given me the feeling that there is literally nothing that I cannot do in this world. That may not be a great thing, but it is true. Days I would have otherwise stayed in bed with a gallon of ice cream, binging TV, are non-existent because of them. They've given me the drive, perseverance, tenacity, and resilience to keep going. I've had to switch jobs, crawl out of jobs, work overnights, leave early, come in late to adjust to their needs and their schedule. Less than 6 months ago, I called Carrie to tell her it was time for me to come back to Temple. I had many jobs since giving birth, but none of them felt like home. It was a Saturday morning, and I was talking to her about life and goals and things that were happening to me, both personally and what I'd hoped for professionally. She told me, "I'll call you right back." Within a week, I was back at Temple interviewing for an associate director position with the Marie Cicerone, who's arguably one of the Temple has ever seen, in my unbiased opinion. Marie saw something in me that I am not sure I see in myself. To say I am honored to be a part of her team is an understatement. In conclusion, I want you all to know that every single moment, interaction, phase, chapter in our lives sets us up for the next better moment. Resilience means to persevere in tough times, find strength within yourself, and support others to rise. Today, I'm still in the midst of some pretty significant personal challenges, but I feel and live resilience. Everyone has a story, a journey, a purpose, and a why. Find your why, use it as your shield of armor to help you navigate, conquer, and succeed. My why happens to be those two little boys that I never imagined would be mine. Most importantly, don't forget to reach back and use your story to help someone who has not yet embraced their resilience and needs that push to keep going. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you, Indira. I have to say, I don't know how any of those, I have 3 children, as many of you know, but I don't know if I could have done what many of you did during the pandemic in balancing both motherhood and career. Ladies, gentlemen, everyone, please welcome to the stage Nia Williams.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having me and allowing me to participate in this wonderful celebration. As a Black woman and medical trainee, I am no stranger to what it means to be resilient. I was born and raised in Washington, D.C., in a single-parent household with my mother and grandmother. I bore witness to many inequalities that we face living in parts of the city that were historically marginalized, forgotten, Black, and brown. Yet in spite of this reality, my mother was determined to create a better life for herself and for me. She motivated me to stay focused in school, to seize every opportunity that was offered to me. She knew that education would be my key to success and a path forward outside of what we have been facing in the city. She even drilled her famous quote into my head: "Nia, if you are above learning, you are above living." I took her words in stride and carried them deep in my heart, even when tragedy struck and I wanted to give up. My grandmother was a strong and powerful woman who was raised in South Carolina and endured many Jim Crow horrors. She carried a deep mistrust and skepticism of the medical industrial complex, which led her to refuse many preventative procedures and screenings. In the fall of 2006, my grandmother began to complain of pain in her side that kept intensifying and wouldn't go away. Anyone who knew my grandmother knew she never complained about pain. This alarmed my mother, given the context of who her mother had always been. When she was finally able to convince my grandmother to seek out medical attention, the final diagnosis just about swept us off of our feet: stage 4 colon cancer with metastasis to the liver. She ultimately passed away 66 days later, just 7 days shy of her December birthday. For my mother and I, the world lost a bit of the gleam and the shimmer that we had been used to. We lost a woman of wild proportions and struggled to know what the path would look like moving forward. However, in spite of our grief, we knew that we had to keep going. I mark this as my first true experience of resilience. As a child, and especially after the death of my grandmother, I knew that I wanted to dedicate my life to helping other people as a doctor. I made my way through middle school and high school, earning excellent marks and accolades along the way to ensure that I would be as competitive for college and medical school as I could possibly be. My dream was finally realized in the fall of 2021, 1 year after graduating from Harvard College. I successfully matriculated into the Lewis Katz School of Medicine to begin my journey of earning my doctoral degree. Our curriculum started with a rigorous 8-week block of anatomy that covers the entire human body. Given that I was a sociology major in college and had not taken any sort of anatomy class prior to this, I began to struggle with whispers of self-doubt. I asked myself if medicine was truly where I belonged, and if I would successfully make it to the end of this road if the beginning already felt so hard. Thankfully, I passed that course and was able to move on to the next course, biochemistry. But I only encountered more obstacles and challenges in my learning and in my confidence. I kept asking myself how I could end up becoming anyone's doctor if I could barely understand the citric acid cycle and the products it formed. I still remember calling my mom with tears in my eyes when I was on the verge of failing my second block of medical school and saying to her, "Mama, I might not be cut out for this." She listened to me with warm, compassionate, and gentle ears and said, "This is your destiny, honey. Don't give up on your dream, and don't give up on yourself. You have to believe you weren't brought this far to be left here. But even if you decide to leave medicine, I want you to know that Mommy is always so very proud of you, and I support you in whatever you decide to do." Hearing my mom's voice in that moment was the strength and the encouragement that I needed to remind myself that I had overcome far greater challenges and that I would overcome this one too. The road to becoming a physician and working in the healthcare industry as a woman, as a Black person, as a Black woman, is a long, windy, and at times tumultuous path. Yet I am grateful for the grit and perseverance, the tenacity that is so deeply woven into every strand of my DNA. As I stand before you this morning, as a graduating fourth-year medical student, published author, mentor and educator, and future family medicine physician, I challenge you to remember in your hardest and darkest moments that you have all the power that you need dwelling inside of you already. The only thing that you have to do to come out on the other side is to simply use it. Thank you.
I told you they were fabulous. Ladies and gentlemen, everyone, please welcome Gina Mistry to the stage.
At the window, you will see pigs flying. Be realistic. You'd be lucky to get through high school. From a tender age, these were the responses that I received when discussing my aspirations with those who should have been championing me: my friends, my family, my educators. This was compounded by attending an underprivileged school where less than 50% of graduates enrolled at college. Despite these obstacles, I became a first-generation university attendee. I achieved some of the highest marks in a top medical school in the UK. I graduated from Harvard University with a master's in public health. And now I get to spend the next 4 years of my life here, training with some of the anesthesiologists who are leading the field. I feel so honored to be stood in front of you today. My journey to this point has not been easy. I remembered being offered the opportunity to complete my senior years of high school at a private school with a full scholarship. All I needed was predicted grades. I was puzzled to receive a rejection letter. I later learned that this was because I was under predicted grades, grades that were near impossible to get with the marks I'd already obtained. In fact, it would mean that I'd have to not sit that exam in order to be able to achieve those low predicted grades. I thought, okay, I'm going to make sure this doesn't happen to me again. So I went to my senior high school, I sat my exams, I worked hard, and I applied for medical school. Again, under-predicted and not being able to get in. I reapplied a second time round with mentors who believed in me and was able to get into medical school. Our medical school had a really fortunate system where it tested everyone for disabilities. This was an opt-in system for dyslexia. I sat the exam, I posted it through and didn't hear anything back. I thought, oh, okay, that's fine. because you don't hear anything back unless there's something that flags up. I struggled through my first year of university, really questioning whether or not I could complete medical school, sitting there being slower than my peers and knowing that something was wrong, something that I thought I knew before but never fully realised. I sat down with one of my lecturers and thought, let me see what my test results show. It turns out there was a glitch in the system and my test was never posted. I got offered the opportunity to resubmit my dyslexia screening test, and that's where I learned that I had dyslexia. Despite being diagnosed with dyslexia, our medical school didn't offer the ability for students to get additional help. So this led me to advocate for my peers. I changed peer-led academic material to become more accessible for those with disabilities, and it's where I learned that I want to be in health policy and change health literacy to be more accessible for those with disabilities. I'm humbled to stand in front of you today, but I didn't achieve any of this alone. I've had support from mentors, friends, and colleagues who believed in me. People gave me a helping hand and lifted me up. They got me to the next stepping stone of my journey. I found friends who were role models and now have become my best friends. I found my partner who has pushed me to become the person I am today. I have my uncle who taught me how to read and communicate effectively. Each one of them has played a vital role in my journey. Defeating the odds to get to where I am today is one of my greatest achievements. Not because it proves anyone wrong, because it shows the importance of hard work, resilience, and the belief that anyone can rise above their circumstances. Each challenge I've encountered has been a reminder of the perseverance. It's not about having answers, but it's about having the strength to keep going, even when the odds feel stacked against you. Just one step at a time, one foot in front of the other. I don't have all the answers or a definitive key to what resilience is, but I can offer you something that has carried me through every challenge, a simple truth I hold on to each time life knocks me down. If you fall down 7 times, pick yourself back up 8. Every time I don't think I can keep going, I think of all the people that give me purpose, my driving forces. For me, it's my family, it's my partner, it's my uncle. They are my strength. They are my guiding light. When I get back up, it's for them. It's the desire to give them the life that they deserve. It's what fuels my fight. So to anyone facing challenges right now, remember, you don't have to have every step of your journey mapped out. Resilience isn't about knowing all of the answers, but about believing in yourself enough to take the next step. Even when the path ahead seems uncertain, every obstacle you face is an opportunity to grow. Every setback is a chance to rise higher. And with every step forward, you're building a story of strength, determination, and triumph. The trust each step you take will bring you one step closer to where you want to be. Thank you so much for allowing me to stand in front of you today.
Just such great examples of how we absorb and regenerate. So many great mantras that have been shared with us from our storytellers as well. We're coming to the end of our program, but I did just want to give everyone an opportunity if there are any questions from the audience for Nicole or any of our storytellers. I think we have some mics in the audience if anyone has a question. We also have breakfast in the lobby afterwards, so. Questions, anyone? If not, they will be around for you. We're going to take some pictures up front. Feel free to engage. Thank you for coming this morning.